We're going to chat about lessons that go far beyond real estate and how to create success in life. Welcome to Richer Soul, your journey to a more purposeful, intentional, amazing life. Where are you going to go and how are you going to get there? Let's figure that out together. At the core is the financial well-being to be able to do what you want, when you want, how you want. It's about personal freedom and abundance. Please check out my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Richer Soul. I share interesting articles that I read every week on that page. Also, check out the website at richersoul.com. I do have an email list sign up on that. I don't send out emails very often, but if something important comes up or there's some bonus material, that's a great way to find out about it. I'll be releasing an ebook later this year to my subscribers on that list. Are you creating the life you deserve? That's a question you need to answer. My goal is to help you figure out how your puzzle pieces come together to design that great life. That means we have to understand where we're going. In other words, what's our purpose? And today, you're going to see Whitney is crystal clear on her purpose. We also need to be healthy enough to be able to do what we want and have the time to be able to do so. So creating the systems that allow us success. And we'll chat a little bit about that as well today. We need the financial resources to fund the life we choose. And it's interesting to hear how Whitney's dad used to do that. Living a life alone gets kind of lonely. So creating strong relationships and being part of something bigger spiritually. We all know this, and yet we're stuck listening to those voices in our head that create fear and hold us back from the life we deserve. Listen in today as Whitney talks about how she creates relationships, how she shares her purpose, and how she talks to everyone she meets. If you haven't had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework and how to create balance in your life. We've had a few episodes on real estate because it's a great way to make money, and there's so many different ways of doing it. I wish I would have started earlier. Had I done that, I would be reaping some massive rewards today. Another mistake. Another nice feature of real estate is that it provides cash flow. People naturally don't have a problem spending cash flow. However, they do have a problem selling assets like stocks and bonds to pay for retirement because we're always unsure if we'll have enough. With cash flow from real estate, that never seems to be an issue. Welcome to Richer Soul, Whitney. It's great to have you join us today to talk about real estate.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rocky. This is going to be fun.
That it is. So let's start at the beginning. We always like to learn about how you grew up learning about money and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
So I grew up as a real estate investor's kid. I grew up the way most of the people that I talk to want their kids to grow up. I remember being a kid and my mom telling me to go get the money out of the mailbox that the tenants had either mailed or dropped off. So I always thought money appeared in the mailbox every month. I didn't realize that bills came in the mailbox until I was in my 20s. And I was like, wait a second, Mom, why don't I have any money coming to the mailbox? And she was like, well, you have to invest. You have to buy houses. You have to plant those seeds so that every month money comes back in. And I was like, oh, wow. I thought it just kind of happened that way. In my world, money happens. We work really hard. I'm the 4th generation entrepreneur, but you work really hard, do your day job, invest in real estate at night, and money happens.
Just kind of digging in, it sounds like the money showed up, but did you have deeper conversations about how to have the money show up in the mailbox when you were growing up?
No, not when I was growing up. When I was growing up, if we needed money for Christmas, if we needed extra money or if birthdays were coming up, my dad would go out and buy an old junker car or an old junker truck or a tractor or something. He'd go out and spend $1,000 and bring it home, whatever it was, or 2 or 3 of them. And he'd change the oil and he'd clean it and he'd get it running. He'd work on the carburetor. He'd do whatever it took. He'd detail it and then he'd sell it for 3 or 4 or 5,000. In my world, if you invest some money and you can improve on what it is that you bought, you can sell it and make more money and then use that for whatever it was that you were wanting. If I was wanting a 4-wheeler or something, Dad would go out and buy a car and flip the car and get enough money to go find a used 4-wheeler. We'd use it for a year until we outgrew it, and then he'd sell it for more. We were always just trading around, trading stuff in and out, invest a little, use it, and then sell it.
It doesn't sound like you were buying new, because if you were buying new,
it
would all go downhill, right?
Yeah, no. We always bought used stuff. Cars, 4-wheelers. I mean, like TVs. My dad, even today, he'll go to the store and whenever somebody returns a TV and they got it marked down $300 or $400, he'll buy it then.
So he's always looking for the deal.
Always looking for a deal. Always talking. Always trying to make a deal with somebody else. My papa was the same way. My mom is the same way. She likes to buy and sell antiques. They're always making a deal. My dad said that my papa, and I don't know if this is true about my papa or my dad, but my dad always said that papa had more deals than Monty Hall. He was always playing, let's make a deal. Now, today, like if I go to Lowe's or I go to the grocery store or I go anywhere, I'm trying to make a deal with somebody. I'm not buying anything for off the shelf price because I know they'll give it to me for a discount, or I'll go to the clearance section and get my appliances, or because I flip houses. So I don't pay sticker for hardly anything. Sheetrock and 2x4s, you can't hardly work around on that. But there's lots of stuff that you can wheel and deal on. That's how you learn to negotiate. You just start making deals on any and every little thing. You start with the waitress at the restaurant. Try to make a deal.
That is a mindset that I don't think is prevalent in America.
No, it's not. If you travel to Europe or Mexico, oh my gosh, Mexico, they almost get like offended if you pay sticker price. They want to have this little back and forth.
It's part of the excitement of making the purchase.
And I think it's part of the excitement in America too. When I buy houses, I buy cars, seriously, if I go to a restaurant or Lowe's, my husband used to get on his nerves and now he kind of gets into it a little bit with me, because it's kind of fun. Find somebody that's going to make a deal with you.
And what's the worst that happens? They just say no.
All right, fine. I didn't want it anyway. I was just trying to see what I could get it for.
And I don't know if you know this. Do you know there's a bid room at Home Depot and Lowe's? So when you go in with a project over $2,000, you can say, hey, can you send this to the bid room and tell me what kind of deal you can cut for me?
You can even do that online.
Oh, can you? I haven't seen it online.
If you are doing a lot of projects over $2,000, and if you're going to be flipping even your house, you might as well get the contractor package, and they'll hook you up with somebody at your local Home Depot, and you can either submit it online, you can go through and find what you want, or you can go over there and say, hey, John, this is what I'm going to do. Can you get all the supplies together for me and let me know how much it's going to be? And then they'll even deliver it for you.
That they will. They're there for service.
Home Depot and Lowe's are really customer service oriented, and they will help you do any and everything, but you need to talk to somebody in the contractor department, not the cashier. They probably don't know exactly how much the company can and will do for you.
That's an interesting point. How do you find the person at a particular place who's willing to deal?
I can tell right off if somebody is going to be a wheeler or a dealer. You can just kind of start talking to them. My husband says I flirt with everybody. Man, woman, child, I don't care. I'm flirting with everybody. Everybody's got something to offer, and I'm going to try to figure out who it is. And if they're not flirting back with me or having a little fun in the conversation, I'll go find somebody else. You got anybody else that works in this department? You're not very much fun.
It's clear you're not afraid to rub people.
And, maybe it's my accent, maybe because I'm 5'3", maybe because I'm just kind of ballsy like that. But people don't usually get offended. They usually laugh, and it breaks down their barrier, and they say, sorry, I've just had a bad day. The customer before you was a pain. I know, but I'm not. So let's play.
And that's part of the game. I think when you do that flirting and you have those conversations and you learn about the person and you make a friendship, they are much more willing, and they know what the deals are that they can do and what they're allowed to do, and they'll help you achieve that.
It probably takes me entirely too long to go to Lowe's and Home Depot because I end up talking to everybody in every department, but I have fun doing it. That's how I have fun. I don't really have many hobbies, but I'm a shopper. I'm a flipper. And so anywhere I can go and I can make friends or I can make a contact. And then when you find the one person that can help you in that department, you remember their name, you bring them a milkshake next time you come in or a biscuit or, whatever. And they're more than willing to bend over backwards to help you because they're used to people coming in and being cranky and snappy with them. You come in and you're ready to have a good time. They're just waiting out there 8 hours anyway. They'd rather have a good time with me than deal with some cranky pants over there.
Absolutely.
And I learned that from my dad, for sure. My dad will talk to a wall.
And that's a skill.
It is.
For someone who has trouble with that, what suggestions do you have to help them become more comfortable with that or to learn how to do it better?
I buy houses and I teach other people how to buy houses. And one thing that I do is when you sign up for my program, I send a little button. It's a yellow and black button and it says, I buy houses. That serves as the icebreaker because when you wear this ugly button on your shirt every day to Lowe's, to Home Depot, to the grocery store, to your kid's ball game, people, strangers will come up to you, or people that you normally have a conversation with will have more of a real conversation. Suddenly people aren't talking about the weather and the ball game. They're talking about what kind of houses do you buy? Who do you know? Do you know that my husband is a contractor? Do you know that my brother does electrical work? And they're actually having real conversations, and they will come up and approach you and start having these conversations because a lot of people aren't comfortable just walking into a room and going, hey, y'all, I'm here. Let's do it. Like I am. I'm totally fine with that. But other people need a little help getting that ball rolling. So if you wear this, you have a one-liner ready so that when people start to talk to you about it or they look at you sideways, then you can say, oh, did you see my button? I buy houses. And you just start rolling with the conversation. The button is the icebreaker, and it helps you kind of step outside of what you would normally say and do because people want to be polite and they want to be courteous to others. But when you wear something like this and it catches people's attention, that's when you're going to find leads. And that's when you're going to get comfortable starting to talk to people that you don't know about business that you may be uncomfortable asking them about, but they'll start to just feel more comfortable with you because you're wearing this ugly button anyway. Why would you wear it if you didn't want to have these conversations?
Very interesting. So just out of curiosity, if you walked up to 10 people, how many would you have a decent conversation with?
It depends on how much time I have, really. And it depends on where we were and, what's going on. Some people don't want to talk, but I'd say out of 10, like if I'm at the grocery store and I wear my button and I've got plenty of time and I don't have anything frozen in the cart yet, I could be there for an hour and I'll talk to all 10 of them and figure out who knows what and who's got an empty house and who knows somebody that's a contractor. And I moved to a new part of the country with my husband. I didn't know anybody when I got here, but I've been here since January and I bought 3 houses. I've got a crew going for me now. I've got lots of sellers, lots of buyers. I just found my own little people because I was willing to take the time and talk to people. I wasn't trying to be shy about it. I need some help and I need to know who to go to around here to find it. People kill me. They lived in the same town their whole life and they only know 5 people.
Yeah. Well,
you ought to know everybody. I mean, I've been here for 6 months and I feel like I know half the town already.
And I'm assuming that's because you're clear. You know your purpose.
I do.
When you tell the world what your purpose is, all of a sudden it opens up and provides you with the answers you're looking for.
Every single time.
Interesting. So how did you decide on real estate?
My mom was a real estate investor. She always bought houses, but she inherited commercial and industrial property from her grandfather and father. I saw the money that was coming in, and during the recession, our trucking company went through some really hard times. Our equipment got repoed, and the only reason that we could keep the whole company floating is that every month our tenants paid the rent. A lot of our properties are free and clear, so when they paid the rent, We could pay the drivers to drive the trucks. We could pay the electric company to keep the lights on. We could, keep everything floating because of the rental income we had off these properties that we've had for 50 or 60 years. I saw it happening, but it didn't really click in my head. I don't really remember the day that it clicked, but I did wake up one day and I was like, holy crap, the only reason I'm surviving is because of this rental income. I need to buy some houses. I need to buy some land. I need to get some rental income coming in and get some stuff free and clear so that when that money comes in, I don't have to pay anybody. I don't have to pay the bank. I don't owe anybody anything. I can use that as my own personal cash flow.
So how did you learn beyond your parents? Did you use other resources, books, courses, events to learn about real estate?
When I was a kid, I remember spending Saturday mornings at auctions. Sometimes we were buying furniture, and in college, I flipped furniture. Like, that's how I made money in college, is I went to auctions and bought stuff, and then I'd take it home, clean it up. Sometimes I'd paint it. I'd put it on Craigslist and I'd sell it. I would flip furniture and make a couple $100 every week and not really have a job. I remember doing that when I was a kid also with my parents. And I remember going to Saturday sales and buying houses and looking at deals. And so I just grew up knowing that you were supposed to be buying real estate. And that's, you work and then you buy real estate so that money comes in automatically forever and ever. Amen. But the way my parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and like everybody buys real estate is they save up a bunch of money and they go plop it down on something and buy it outright. They don't use banks. They don't use anything. They just use their money, which means they buy some cheap stuff. They didn't have any formulas or plans. And I was like, how do you know it's a good deal? And nobody had a good answer for me. They were just winging it. They were just throwing spaghetti against the wall. And if something stick, they got it. And they weren't worried about it. Eventually, they'll get their money back, and this is how they're going to retire. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I joined the Real Estate Investors Association. I was there for a month, and they had this special presentation. It was $75 to go to this special night of a presentation. And I just bought 2 houses and spent every last dime I had. I told the president, I was like, I'd like to come to this thing, but I don't have $75. Like, straight up, I don't have $75 right now to spend on this. He was like, I think you're really going to like what we're going to be talking about. So if you come and don't learn anything and don't get excited about this, I'll give you your $75 back. And I was like, fine, old man, I'll come. I'll get my money back. That ain't a problem. So I paid $75 and I went, and within 15 minutes, I completely checked out because everything that guy was saying was buying houses with no money down, buying houses with nobody running your credit, buying houses, taking over people's mortgages, doing deals, making $20,000 or $30,000 and not having anything invested in the deal. And I was like, I'm in, I'm sold. Whatever it is you're selling, I want to know how to do that. I clocked out, mentally checked out of this meeting, like within 15 minutes. He'd mentioned going to see Ron LeGrand in Florida. Ron LeGrand teaches lease options and owner financing. Put $3,000 on my credit card that night in that meeting and booked a trip to Florida to hear Ron LeGrand over the weekend. And I've been hooked ever since then. So I didn't have $75, but I found $3,000 on my credit card and hauled butt to Florida.
So you're buying real estate. You don't use your own money. You don't use banks. How do you do it?
It's called a lease option, which is a really fancy rental agreement, which gives you the right to rent the house from somebody and gives you the option to purchase this house within the next 5 or 10 years. It's really as simple as that. I am a glorified renter, and I have first right of refusal to be able to buy the property in the next 5 or 10 years. What I do is I turn around and become a glorified landlord. And I find people that have money and usually have crappy credit, but they have good jobs and they will get their credit fixed in a year or two and then buy the house from me. So let's do some numbers here. You ready for some math? Mm-hmm. The most popular way that I buy houses, there's a mortgage on it, right? And I don't assume anybody's mortgage, but if you have a mortgage on your house, let's say you owe $100,000 and your monthly payment is $800. Does that sound kind of normal? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you decide to rent that house, nobody is going to bat an eye. Everybody's going to be like, oh, all right, cool. You're renting your house. No big deal. The bank doesn't get upset if you rent a house, even if you have a mortgage on it.
Hmm.
If you decided to sell that house, everybody be like, oh, cool. All right, you're going to sell your house. No big deal. The bank doesn't get upset if you decide to sell a house if you got a mortgage on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I combine those two things in one piece of paper. And I say, you know what, Rocky? You owe $100,000 on this house. Your monthly payment is $800. One of my conditions is the house has to be empty and not listed and not behind on payments. Okay, so those are my 3 conditions. It has to be empty. Nobody's living in it. You're making payments on an empty house. Cannot be listed on the MLS because I'm a broker and I just don't like dealing with other agents. So I don't want anything that's listed. And you have to be current on these payments, because if you're going to get behind on payments to a bank, then you got other issues that I can't deal with. And I don't like the F word, foreclosure. I don't like it. I'm not talking to anybody that's dealing with it. All right. So current on payments, empty house, and not listed. So I'll say, all right, you got this house and you owe $100,000. Your monthly payment's $800. How about I start making that payment the next 2 or 3 months, and I'll buy it for $100,000. It'll take me about 5 years to pay you off. But in those 5 years, I'll make all the payments. I'll deal with all the repairs. I'll deal with all of the issues that come up. You don't have to do anything except go on and live your life. Something happens to the house, I'll take care of it. If something needs to be done to the house right now, I'll take care of it. All I need is 3 months and I'll start making the payments. No problem. And I'll send these payments directly to your bank so that you really don't have to touch a thing anymore. Most of the time, if you're talking to somebody that's making payments on an empty house, they say, awesome. How soon can we start? Or they say, well, why is it going to take 3 months? Well, because I've got to be able to test the market, see who's out there, see what I can find. And I tell you what, if I get somebody to move in this thing in a month or 2, I'll start making the payments as soon as I get somebody to move in. Does that sound okay? Oh, yeah. Okay. That sounds more than fair. That's what we do.
So if you looked at a house like that, what do you think the market value of that house would be?
I'm going to hope the market value is 110, 115, or 120.
So you're slightly below market.
I'm buying it slightly below market, and I can sell it right at or a little bit above market. So on this house, I've done this deal. This is why I use this deal. I've done it like 3 or 4 times. So I will get it for $100, $800 a month. I give you no money down because your problem is these monthly payments. You got a hole in your boat, and I'm just trying to plug it, right? So I'll go out, put the house on the market for, let's say, 120. If it's worth 115, I'll put it out there for 120. I'll find somebody that'll give me 10 or 15,000 to move into the house, and they'll pay me $1,000 every single month, and they'll improve their credit. And in a year, they'll either be able to get the mortgage or they'll leave, and I'll do it again. So I'll get the 10 or 15,000 that they pay me up front, a non-refundable option fee to move in, which is mine because I told my seller I wasn't giving them anything. They pay me an extra $200 a month, which is mine because I agreed to give $800. They give me $1,000. Totally cool. And then, you know, if they get a mortgage, I'm going to get the difference between the 100 and the 120. So I'm going to make another 20 there.
Just out of curiosity, why don't these people just sell the house straight up?
Sometimes they've tried to sell it, and maybe the kitchen had an ugly floor in it. Maybe the house faced a weird way. Some people, believe this or not, don't like real estate agents, and they don't want to have to pay a commission out of their share of the proceeds. They want a full $100,000. I don't charge commissions. My sellers give me the opportunity to make money, but they get their full asking price. There's no negotiated rate reduction. There's no inspection reduction. There's no commission reduction. I even pay closing costs. They say they want 100,000, they owe 100,000, I'll give them 100,000.
Do you ever give over mortgage or no?
I have sometimes, yeah, because say they wanted the full 120 on this house, ain't no problem for me. Give me 15 years instead of 5.
And what would the underlying mortgage be on that house? Would it be 15 years or might it be only 10 or 12 or?
I don't know. We'll have to look at it and see. They may have 25 years left on it. But I'm taking it for 10 or 15, which means I'm going to have a balloon payment.
Okay.
If I've had this house, I've got 15 years before I have to pay it off, and I let a tenant buyer come in every year, and every tenant buyer gives me $10,000 to move in, and I go through 15 of them, I made $150,000 on this house. Plus I paid it off. Plus I made $200 a month. I mean, I don't see how I could go wrong. I don't have anything invested in it except some time and energy.
That's true. So how much time does it take to build up a business like this?
It takes about 4 weeks.
That sounds, it sounds incredulous.
My first deal, I went to, one of Ron's boot camps in December, and I came home really confused. So I went to another one in February. So after the second one that I went to, I came home like Valentine's Day weekend, and on February 28th, I had my first contract signed, and we closed. I got $15,000 on May 13th.
All right. So where do you find all these leads? Is it just by going out and talking to everyone? Do you have other systems you use to find leads? How do you find?
I have 14 different ways that I get these leads. It's about half and half between offline methods and online methods, but they're all pretty much free. I mean, one thing I teach is driving for dollars, which in real estate, pretty regular, but a lot of people go driving for dollars. They don't even realize it, because say you're going to the grocery store and a road is closed and they've got a detour and you have to zig and zag through a subdivision to get out to the other side. Does that ever happen to you?
It does. I always take shortcuts through that just to get out of traffic.
Okay, so that is a perfect opportunity for you to open your eyes and say, are there any houses in this subdivision that I'm driving through? I could knock on the door, knock on the neighbor's door, or leave a note and say, hey, I'd like to buy this empty house.
Because I own rentals, I get postcards in the mail.
Oh, I hate those. They're so easy to throw away. I send yellow letters. A lot of people teach yellow letters, but I teach it to where it actually looks like I sent you a letter. Have you ever gotten a yellow letter? You always get postcards.
They come in all different forms. Sometimes it looks like it was written on a sticky note, but I know it's printed.
Those are so cheesy, and I don't know how anybody gets any results from those. What I do when I teach my students to do you care if I tell you this? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's a little bit labor intensive on the front end, but it works like all get out on the back end. Take an 8.5 by 11 piece of white paper, and in your handwriting, I want you to say, hey, mine, honest to goodness, mine say, hey, my name is Whitney. I'd like to buy your house. Call me if you're interested in getting rid of it quickly. Thanks, Whit, and then my phone number. That's all it says. And it's in my handwriting. So I take this one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in a pen that I use. I love this one pen. I write it on there. I take up the whole page. I take it over to Staples or Office Max, and I buy a pack of yellow lined paper like an attorney would use, except I get the letter size instead of the legal size. I tear all those off the little cardboard that they come on, and I send them through the printer there at Staples or Office Max with my letter on it. So at the end of the day, I walk away with 500 of these letters ready to go. And while I'm there, do you know anybody that has like a signature stamp? You know, you go, you sign your name, and then they make a stamp, and that way anybody can stamp your signature. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, you don't actually have to sign your name on those things. You can write whatever you want to. So you could write your return address, but it would still be in your handwriting. So then you could have the kids, or I try to get my dog all the time, but she won't do it. But any monkey could just stamp your return address on the back of an envelope and send it. I use invitation size envelopes, and I use red ink. My return address and my address on the front, I use red ink, and I use a little heart stamp. So it looks like you might have been invited to a wedding because it's coming from an address that you don't recognize, just like if you got invited to a wedding. You open it up, there's this yellow letter in there. It's in my handwriting, not a font that looks like handwriting, but actually my little scratching it out. And it says, hey, I want to buy your house. Call me about getting rid of it quickly. My call rate on those are through the roof because it looks like I was really in front of your house and sent you this letter.
When you say they're through the roof, what percentage-wise, what does that look like?
I get 30% callback.
Wow.
And most people are getting 15 or 20. I'm killing the callback rate. They call back and they get me. I actually answer all my calls. So, hey, this is Whitney. And they're like, oh, hey, you sent me a letter. Yeah, I did. Do you have a house that you'd like to get rid of? I sent out 5 or 6 of those last weekend. It's always just 5 or 6. I sent out a couple of those last week and maybe 5 or 6. Which house was yours? And then I go through my lead sheet and I set up an appointment. I find out if it's empty. I find out if they're current on payments. I find out everything I can before I set up an appointment. And if it fits my criteria, I don't have to talk to 200 or 300 people a week. I just need to talk to the 30 that call back and go out and look at 5 or 6 houses.
That's interesting. So when they call you, you've got a system in place that says, this is what I want. This is what I buy. Do you meet this criteria? If not, the conversation ends.
Thanks. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry for bothering you. Thanks for calling back. Oh, but wait, do you have any other houses that fit this criteria? Does your brother have any? Like, everybody is a lead source. Everybody you talk to knows somebody with an empty house that is a pain in their neck that they would love to get rid of. People even forget they have houses sometimes. I've had people that I've talked to on the phone, and because I'll take the time and chit chat with them a little bit, they'll call me back later that week and say, hey, I was talking to somebody at work and I think you should call them. Thanks. Okay.
It's just building the relationships, making the phone calls and doing the work. So in real estate, sometimes things don't go well. Have you had any times where you've had a failure?
Oh, yeah. I bought a house one time at auction. It was an online auction. I didn't go see the house. I didn't drive by the house, nothing. And my brother went and looked at it. And he was like, please don't buy this. Please don't buy this. And this is before I was doing lease options. This is when I was throwing spaghetti against the wall myself. I was like, okay, I get it. You don't like it, but how much would you give if you were going to buy it? And he was like, no more than $10,000. Like, this thing cannot be worth $10,000. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to put our bid in for 15. And he was like, are you listening to me? $10,000 is it. And I was like, all right, 15, got it. I put our bid in at 15 and we won for 14,000. So we got the house and I went and looked at it. And the first thing that happened is the fleas attacked me. I've never been eaten up like that in my life. It was disgusting. Also, when you walked on the floor, you could pretty much see the water squish out of the carpet. This house was built before indoor plumbing was like a thing. They rigged up a bathroom that was definitely just added on. The kitchen was definitely just added on. I mean, it was a disaster. The house to the right of this house stunk. A chemical smell that I've never smelled before in my life. It was awful. One thing that we did is we were like, okay, we're just going to do a little lipstick on a pig on this thing, flip it. We'll try to do some owner financing or something on it. And this is before I knew what owner financing was. I was just trying to figure out what we were going to make happen over here. So I called our yard boy. I said, hey, I need some trees and some bushes cut down. I just need to pretty this thing up. We'll throw some mulch out, no big deal. So he came over and he was working and he called me, hey, I'm going to have to hire somebody to come up here and watch our trailer. Somebody just tried to walk off with one of our chainsaws while we were in the yard. And I was like, I'll come over there and watch the trailer. And I was like, wait a second, what am I going to do if somebody tries to steal something? Be like, you can't do that. No. So it was all a disaster. Just all the way around, this house was a disaster. And we ended up putting it back up for auction. We kept it for like 3 or 4 months. It kept me up at night. I was terrified. I was over there one time and there was so much activity at the house next door. I called one of our cop friends to come over there and just kind of check it out, see what he, thought he could find out. He came over there and he was there for like 5 minutes and he was like, Whitney, you got to get out of here. Don't ever come back to this house again. Like, I know these people, you cannot be over here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, fine, I'm leaving. So we put the house back up for auction and we sold it for $11,000. We probably had 15 in it. We lost $4,000, but I didn't get raped or mugged or kidnapped. So we considered it a win. It was a lesson. People pay more than $4,000 to go to college. And it was a definite lesson. Check out the houses, check out the neighborhood, and don't overbid what your brother wants you to pay.
The bigger lesson here is, though, you had failure and you looked at the failure as a lesson.
Oh, yeah.
And you just got back up and you started again. For
sure. I've paid more than $4,000 to go to college, and that didn't get me anything.
I think we have to do a show on colleges because my kids are getting ready to go to college, and I've already told them, if you can figure out how to go to college, you can figure out how to pay for college, because it's gotten a little ridiculous. And I think more and more the concept of college and the knowledge you receive it's starting to be a question of, is it worth it for a lot of people?
I agree with that 100%. I mean, if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer and that's what you're going to want to do, but I mean, I had a communication major. I minored in women's studies. What in the world am I going to do with that besides buy real estate and talk on podcasts? My mom said that I could talk fine, but apparently my communication major refined me. I almost flunked out of college English because I was taking my freshman college English my senior year because I was determined they were just going to let me skip it. I almost flunked out because I write like I talk. I don't exactly talk like a proper person. I talk like a redneck and my writing sounds like a redneck. And now when I write emails and Facebook posts, I get all sorts of engagement on it because it sounds like me. But I almost flunked out of freshman English my senior year of college because I wouldn't write the way they wanted me to.
That, I think, is a big part of school. Do what they want you to, regardless of whether or not it's going to make you successful. Follow the rules.
I mean, I can go on a whole tangent on college. And I grew up, go to school, make straight A's, graduate high school, no big deal. Go to college, make good grades, graduate, no big deal. Go on and go to work. I just followed the path. I didn't even realize there was other colleges I could go to besides UT. Like, that's where all my friends went. They either went there or they got a job waiting tables, and I wasn't going to wait tables, so I just went on to school. I didn't know there were other options out there. I didn't know people were dropping out and starting companies and buying real estate, and I didn't know that was going on. I was just following along. And I had fun in college. But
sure.
That's the thing. I had fun.
Yeah, for $50,000 a year, $200,000, you should have a lot of fun.
I could have a lot of houses for that.
And literally, I think that's the conversation that's going to happen with the financial aid officer. Hey, if I'm going to spend $200,000, I might be better off putting $20,000 down on 10 properties and cash flowing them. Than,
for sure. And just figuring that out.
Absolutely. So you run this business. I know you create systems to do things once you understand how to do them. Can you share a little bit about how you go about creating systems and maybe one of the ones you use?
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I fully believe that you have to be completely engrossed in whatever it is you want to do before you can put a system in place. You need to figure out what works so that you can either teach somebody else to do it or you can put it on autopilot for the computer to do. A lot of people try to skip that. Well, how do I automate this? Well, how about you do it and you get your feelings hurt a couple different times and figure out what really works before you just automate it and then say, oh, this doesn't work. I'm going to try something else. I get so frustrated at people who want to do that. I'll tell you, one of the easiest things that you can do, especially if you're in real estate, and this probably works for a lot of other things, it's just that I'm so focused on my purpose that I don't know much else except real estate. So if you're an investor, and I'd say your audience is investors or they're thinking about real estate or whatever, one of the easiest ways to find deals is to take 10 minutes, go to Craigslist. Up at the top, go to houses for sale or real estate for sale, and then it'll take you to a page. And then across the top, you're searching in your city for real estate, but then that next drop down is for sale by owner. You click that, and then over on the left, you check next to has an image. Down at the bottom, if you want 3-bedroom, 2 baths, you can say minimum 3-bedroom, 2 bath. And then you tell it to search again. And then it'll come up with this URL up at the top, and you can copy and paste that URL. All right, just go up there and right click it. It's that easy. And then you go to if this, then that, IFTTT. In IFTTT, there's a search bar up at the top, and you type in Craigslist. And it'll give you 15 different things that you can do with Craigslist, but one of them is to send you an email every time something hits Craigslist that fits your criteria. You literally come to this page on if this, then that, and you click the on button, and it says, put the URL of your search criteria in right here. You've already done the search in Craigslist. You take that URL that you copy and pasted, you paste it in there, you put your email address in, and then boom, every day you're going to get 10 or 15 emails when houses go up for sale by owner with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths in your market. So you don't have to look at Craigslist ever again. You just get emails. You go through your emails, say yes, yes, no, 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 no. And then you call on those 2 yeses.
That's very helpful advice. And you can do that with anything. I mean, if you wanted to get in the buying cars or furniture or whatever it is, electronics, you can set something up like that, regardless of what the business is, to find you the opportunities to get what it is that you want.
That's just a little dinky example, but I do teach that. That's one of the ways I find online properties, because other people teach you to go through Craigslist and spend an hour a day in Craigslist. Well, after an hour, I don't even feel like calling these people if I found them.
Very true. You have to make it easy. So again, you're clear. I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for. This is what works for me. Now I automate the system and I let it run.
Yep.
Just to kind of shift gears a little bit, we talk always a little bit about spirituality. How does that fit into your life, and how does religion help you?
I love going to church on Sunday mornings. I love singing the hymns. I love singing the old hymns, not this new stuff that sounds like Rascal Flatts. I like the traditional old church music. I love to go, and that's my favorite part. And usually when the preacher starts preaching, I hear about 5 minutes of what he says, but that's my time to kind of meditate and just be quiet. And nobody needs me while I'm at church. Nobody's trying to get a hold of me. And I have so many beautiful ideas sitting in church that for a while, I was filling up my bulletin with notes. I was filling up my husband's bulletin. I was going and getting another one. And then one day, the old lady next to me, she had this notebook. And she was taking notes on the sermon, but it clicked in my head that I was like, holy smokes, she could write anything in that. She could write her to-do list. She could write her emails for the week. She could write all sorts of stuff. And people would think she was just taking really good notes. And she wouldn't be confined to the outskirts of this bulletin. So I bought a book that day, and I take a notebook with me to church. My husband hates it. He thinks everybody knows that I'm writing emails or writing my to-do list or doing, whatever it is. But I absolutely love that. And I think I come up with some of the most amazing ideas. And I think it's because that's the time that I give God to actually come in and talk to me. It's the only time I shut up and listen long enough for him to say, hey, this is what you need to do. Hey, check on them. Hey, here's your next money opportunity. Hey, pay attention to me. If I would do that every day, I'd probably get a lot further in life. Dang, I should do that.
Morning routine. A lot of people have a solid morning routine of meditation that you have to figure out the one that works for you. Part of it is silence. Part of it is deep breathing. Part of it is gratitude. But whatever system works for you, again, you figure it out and then you create that morning system for you. And literally, people, I've heard the stories. If you just spend 5 or 10 minutes a day just thinking about stuff instead of just running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
Absolutely.
The actual results you get in life are dramatically different.
Yep. I'll agree to that. I'll tell you, my perfect day, if I can get up and go to the gym 30 minutes, run by the grocery store, get whatever it is I need for the next couple of days, and go back home, do something, take a shower and get ready by 9. That is my perfect day because I already feel like I've already got a jump start on when everybody else is kind of coming to life. I have a problem. Maybe it's because I'm a millennial, but I have a problem sitting still. I've found that if I can walk, just walking up and down the road, walking up and down around the house, walking on the treadmill, like just kind of moving and letting my mind float, I get more out of meditating that way because I'm doing something, I'm active, but I'm not on a machine. I'm still out enjoying. And I think, was it Darwin that walked every day?
If you don't take your phone with you, meaning you don't have headsets in and you go walk, you'll have amazing ideas.
Check out. You will check out. It's amazing what's in your brain, but that you shut down because you're doing normal 2017 society stuff.
Absolutely. Any last minute advice before we learn a little bit more where to find you?
Yeah, I tell everybody to keep going. If you're in the middle of a good deal, if you're in the middle of a bad deal, if you got a pain in the neck tenant, if you got a pain in the neck seller, if it's a amazing seller, whatever it is, even just in life, you have to keep going. If you quit, if you shut down, if you stop right where you are, then you're never going to be able to see those dreams. When you're out walking and you're quiet and you have those dreams of what your life is going to be like, you're never going to see that happen if you quit right now. So keep going. Go through the grit, go through the dirt, go through the mud, and make it happen.
And we talk a little bit about the compound interest curve, which is literally that same thing. You sit there and you go forever, and it doesn't seem like you've gotten anywhere. And all of a sudden, the bend occurs.
Yeah.
And it has explosive growth. That's literally what it is. You keep showing up you keep taking the step. And over time, that compounds. And one day it shifts, and it shifts dramatically. And then you're at the top of the summit.
But you got to keep going or you won't see it.
That is correct. So if people want to find you and check out your real estate program, how do they do that?
Oh, awesome. My website is whitneynicely.com. And if you go to whitneynicely.com/group, that'll put you into my Facebook group. I'm super mouthy in my Facebook group every day, talking about real estate, talking about investing, talking about deals and sellers and all that stuff. That's the best way to hang out with me, is to join my Facebook group.
Cool. And I will put that in the show notes for everyone to find as well. Thank you for joining us today.
It was great. Thanks, Rocky.
I encourage you to check out whitneynicely.com/group to learn more about real estate. Clearly, where you focus your attention is where you get results. Are you clear on your purpose, and are you telling everyone what it is? If you'll notice, Whitney does that with a big, ugly button, and it makes sure to bring up conversations. 2 other big lessons from today. You need to create and figure out how to achieve success, and once you do, you can automate it and make it happen passively. But you can't do that until you figure it out first. We've talked about baking a cake in the past. When you bake a cake, there's a recipe. Even if you have all the right ingredients, but you bake the cake in the wrong order, you have nothing but a mess. So you've got to do things in the proper order. The second is the power of compounding and how you have to keep showing up and trying. Failure is nothing more than a lesson. Learn from them and just keep going. So, what's preventing you from moving forward? And who are you putting on your team to help build the life you deserve? Ready to take massive action? I'm here to help you build your path and create the life you deserve. Thanks for listening. You can always reach out to me at rocky@richersoul.com. Have an abundant week.